recently shared an Instagram post. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Here at that 1870s Homestead, and I'm Rachel. But I recently shared over on Instagram some of the ways I love to use feed bags, and this is one of them. Your butt doesn't get wet through them. It rained a ton last night, and I don't want to sit on the wet ground, and I have all of my onions out here. We're gonna plant today. So, I even had a little tomato start. So sweet. Hi. Okay, so maybe you were out here when I shared. I've always grown my onions in my raised beds. This is one of my no-till in-ground beds. It was roothed out 2 years in a row. Last year, I tried an experiment, put down a really super thick layer of barn clean out, would top dressed it with compost and peat moss. I liked it okay. It worked really good for what I grew here. I grew sweet potatoes, and they did really well. But this year, I went back to just top dressing it with barn clean out, and I did some amendments earlier in the season, and now I'm going to be, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. We'll see how many onions I can fit. I think I overbought, I'll just tell you that right now. So I'm gonna probably space them a little closer than you're supposed to. Probably space them about 4 inches apart. And this is kind of an experiment for me. I did kind of trench, not really a till trench, but I just drug my hoe through here and filled all the trenches with barn clean out, hoping that that holds on like a core to moisture, because onions are very thirsty vegetable. So this year I am growing. First, my onion source is Dixondale Farms. They are out of Texas. We are in southeast Michigan, and so I have to grow a long day variety. There's indeterminate and short day. And I'm growing copras, red Zeppelin, and Spanish yellow, I think it's called. So I'm gonna get to planting and maybe just chat with you guys a little bit about growing onions and other things. Some maybe lessons that I've learned along the way, because I definitely were one of those people that it just didn't come naturally to. I had to learn a lot of hard lessons to figure it out. So I guess first tip when you are planting an onion, you never want to plant it more than 1 inch deep. So that's just tip number 1. I typically try to take it and I will just barely stick the roots in and squeeze around the onion. That's it. My soil is super loose, so it's nice and good. You wouldn't want to grow in hard-packed soil. That would be not great for onions. They don't like competition. So they don't like competition from weeds. They don't like competition from rocks, clay. They're pretty particular that way. So here's a rock right here. Take it out. They don't like that. Isn't that a pretty sight? So I've got that much left of the copras. I'm getting picky and choosy now as I get to the end. So I make sure the ones that I select have the best root system. Maybe of the ones that have still good, came with the best root systems. Shooting practice. I make sure that I pick the fatter ones, because you can be picky and choosy, because when Dixondale sends them to you, they're going to send them to you in what they call 50 to 75 packs. So they don't really do like a true count. They kind of know by weight probably how much they're shipping out. And so sometimes you get closer to 75 And all the little ones, you can, oh, another little tiny tomato start. I love that. So any of these that are extra, I'm probably actually going to give them to my father-in-law, but you could definitely, you know, if they're teeny tiny ones, let me give you an example, like something itty bitty like this, just throw a whole bunch of them together and put them in a pot, like up on your patio or something, and you'll have fresh green onions, early spring onions for quick dishes. But my father-in-law loves to grow onions, so I'll probably give them to him. On the next batch, though, the next run, I'll bring you guys down closer and show you how I plant them. And then stay tuned to the end, or you can just skip to the end, I guess. I'll show you how I first initially feed them, and I'll bring you guys a future video on maintaining the onions and fertilizing them. Now, I will say there are plenty of schools of thought out there, and I really think it depends on your growing conditions and the variety that you're growing, exactly what you need to do. So you're going to learn that over time, just taking bits and advice from different growing tips and finding what works for you. So what I share here on my channel is what I've found for my area, my growing conditions, what works well for me. So use some of it, use all of it, or ignore it all. All right, I just counted this whole row, and that's 2 rows here, probably 6 to 8 inches apart. And it was 104 onions spaced, probably 4 fingers wide each. So now when I come back, just in case you guys are here for a one and only visit, I'd encourage you to subscribe. But when I come back and start feeding my onions, I am going to be feeding right here on this in this trench when I feed them. You don't want to feed directly on your onions, feed offset of them, and they'll be good to go. And water regularly. Water, water, water. They love it. So don't let them dry out too much. So I'm going to get to going on the red zeppelins, I think, next. I think it'll be pretty yellow onion, red onion, yellow onion. So see you guys in a bit. Okay, I'm in here deep with you guys. All right, so you got your onion, right? Got all these beautiful roots. Let's see if you guys can see this. Bring you down here. I guess I'll have to come out here. Start one out here. Okay, I'm gonna dig a hole, not very deep, maybe one knuckle deep. Put those roots in there, and then this is my process. I just pack that soil tight around those roots, just around the base of the plant. And then I don't have to worry about so much, or any really, soil pressure too much as the bulb starts forming. Now it'll still form a little bit around under the soil, and there's a process I talk about in last year's onion maintenance video, basically talking about a process called spooning. Maybe it's called, I don't know, other things, where you kind of, as the onions are growing, surface the soil away from the bulb of the onion. I think I learned in that video, never talk in absolutes on YouTube, because so many people had such hardship with me pointing out that process, that's so unnecessary. Well, I'll tell you what, when you struggle to grow onions like I have, it's any tip that I'll get that helps me get results, you better believe I'm doing it. I don't care if it takes me an extra 30 minutes a week to go out and spoon all my onions. Who cares? So, I'll link that video here, and definitely go give it a look if, you know, you're a first-time onion grower and you're just looking for all the tips and tricks to help you out. So that's my tip specifically on planting them. You want to plant them as shallow as you can, no more than an inch deep. All right, guys, I have 2 more rows to go right here, and that is for my Spanish yellow onions, but it's looking like it might rain. So just in case, I wanted to let you know, in case I have to wrap this up quickly, I am using just an all-purpose organic fertilizer for this initial fertilizing when they get planted. So I'm going to come through, sprinkle them down with some of this, either water it in, or if it rains, the rain will take it in. And then I won't fertilize again until about 3 weeks, and that's when I'll start heavy nitrogen feedings. And we will feed nitrogen down the troughs in between the onion rows, and that is purely either organic, like composted chicken manure you could use. I've used that. You could use, I also have ammonia sulfate. I feel like there is a commercial brand that's like non-organic that a lot of people use. I can't think of the name of it right now, but just know that you're going to feed heavy nitrogen once they're about 3 weeks in, and feed probably every 3 to 4 weeks, once a month. And once they start bulbing pretty good, then you kind of cut that back. So I'm going to get this last row of onions planted and go in. This is a hard on your back job. And I say we're gonna end up with, I got way more red onions in than the copras. Red onions are just a naturally smaller onion than your big yellow onions. So I'm guessing I got closer to, I didn't count them, maybe 150. So let me get going on these Spanish onions, and maybe we'll wrap up here with a cute little time lapse and some music. We'll see what Todd comes up with. So thanks, guys, for coming and planting onions with me. If you have any questions whatsoever about planting onions, I have gone through the gamut of learning. So just leave your comments down below, and I'll do my best to answer them or point you to a direction where you can get the answer.